Most people hear about BDNF and immediately think it's some kind of shortcut to better memory. A molecule that boosts learning, improves focus, enhances the brain, but that idea, while not entirely wrong, misses something important, because BDNF doesn't make you learn faster in the way most people expect, and it definitely doesn't work instantly. BDNF, or Brain-Derived Neurotrophic Factor, is often described as fertilizer for the brain, which sounds powerful, but fertilizer doesn't make a plant grow overnight. It creates the conditions for growth over time, and that distinction changes everything, because when it comes to learning and memory, the brain is not just storing information. It's constantly reshaping itself. Every time you try to learn something new, neurons need to form stronger connections. Some pathways get reinforced, others weaken. This process is called plasticity, and BDNF plays a role in supporting that process, not by forcing it, but by making it easier for those connections to strengthen when the right conditions are present. At first glance, that sounds straightforward: more BDNF equals better learning. But this is where things become less intuitive, because learning doesn't fail just because BDNF is low. It often fails because the structure around learning is inconsistent. People repeat information without truly engaging with it, they switch contexts too quickly, they overload attention, and when that happens, even if the brain is capable of adapting, it doesn't get the signal to do so effectively. This creates a frustrating gap. Effort goes in, but retention doesn't follow. So people look for something to boost the process, and that's where BDNF gets attention. But here's the turning point most people miss: the real issue isn't that the brain lacks the ability to form memories. It's that the conditions required for those changes to stick are rarely maintained long enough. BDNF doesn't override that. It supports it, which means its role is conditional. It becomes more relevant when learning is already happening in a structured, repeated, and focused way. For example, when attention is stable, repetition is meaningful, and cognitive load is manageable, the brain is more likely to reinforce neural pathways. In that context, BDNF acts more like an amplifier, not of information, but of adaptation. Without that structure, its impact becomes much harder to notice, and this is where expectations often lead to confusion. People expect improvements in memory to feel immediate: more clarity, faster recall, stronger focus, but the effects linked to BDNF are usually indirect. They show up over time. As slightly improved retention, more stable recall under pressure, less effort required to relearn something. These are subtle shifts, not dramatic ones. There's also another layer to consider. BDNF is not constantly elevated. It fluctuates: sleep, physical activity, stress levels, all of these influence it, which means learning capacity is not static either. Some days, the brain is more receptive to forming connections; other days, it's less efficient, and most people don't account for that variability. They assume that if learning feels harder, something is wrong, when in reality, the internal conditions have changed. This is why trying to isolate BDNF as the key to learning can be misleading. It's part of a system, not the system itself. And focusing only on increasing it without addressing how learning actually happens often leads to disappointment, because the signal still needs to be clear, the repetition still needs to be meaningful, the attention still needs to be sustained. BDNF doesn't replace those factors. It works alongside them. A useful way to think about it is this: learning is the process. BDNF is one of the conditions that helps that process work more efficiently, but no condition on its own creates the outcome. Once you see it that way, the role of BDNF becomes more grounded, less like a shortcut, and more like part of a larger structure that supports how the brain adapts over time. A structured breakdown of how attention, repetition, and internal brain chemistry interact can help you better understand when learning is more likely to stick and why it sometimes doesn't, even when effort is high. If this perspective helped clarify how memory and learning actually develop, subscribing can help you explore more explanations about how the brain adapts in realistic, often overlooked ways.